Hello and welcome to New Europe Studios, where you can watch us make the news. With us today is Teddy Goff, who ran the digital strategy for the Obama campaigns in the last two elections. Hello, Teddy.
Hello.
So it's been quite a day for you. You've been in Brussels giving a talk on digital strategy. Can you tell us, you talked about controlling the message. Is that still possible in the internet age?
No, not. I think not in the way that people traditionally think about controlling the message. I think influencing the message is absolutely possible. I think controlling the message is not. It's very funny to me that you hear kind of older, more traditional organizations or individuals, frankly, who talk about controlling the message and talk about the internet as if it's really damaging to them from that standpoint. And the reality is, people, especially in politics, people are probably saying bad things about you no matter what. And if you're in politics, they were saying bad things about you 10 years ago before there was Facebook, and they'll be saying things about you 10 years from now, no matter where we all spend our time. And so, I think the proper way to look at things is not, how can you, try to squash out that conversation or mitigate the damage, but how can you use that to your advantage to the extent possible? Understand that you've got, just as you've got detractors, you've also got a whole new platform for people who actually like you to go out and talk about you, and try to make sure that you're arming them and motivating them and mobilizing them, and not worry so much about the detractors. The fact is the detractors probably don't like you either way.
A lot of this happens over a variety of different media, TV being in the past the most important of these. Is TV on the way out, or is it still considered a very important?
Well, I think we're getting to a point where you have to wonder what the definition of TV is. I mean, certainly video content is not on the way out. Video content is actually on the rise. And so whether you're watching that video on an iPad or a phone or a TV or something else, whatever, there's going to be an ability to advertise against that content, and that's probably going to be a pretty powerful form of advertising in the sense that, if you're spending 15 or 30 seconds with something, with a commercial, that's going to be, that's a lot more substantial of an advertising impression than your eyes glazing over a banner ad. So, I think clearly the days of broadcast TV, of everybody watching the same 3 or 20 or 80 channels, that's on the decline and will never come back. If you doubt me on that, go talk to a 15-year-old about whether he or she watches TV. The answer is no, never.
So we're talking multi-screen, cross-media platform campaigns.
Yes, with lots and lots of video consumption, but happening in a very different way.
I heard you say earlier that Facebook, Twitter, email, and a website are the 4 keys to success. Can you rate these in order of importance?
Well, I think what I said was that we had the benefit of a lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of people on the campaign, and that allowed us to do a lot of sophisticated stuff. But at its core, those 4 things that you just listed were the backbone of the program and relatively cheap to administer, and were where we got the certainly the bulk of our lift. If I could rate them, well, I think I just said to a group earlier, I think email is the most underrated tool in the toolbox. It doesn't get a lot of love. I think people find it a little annoying. They associate it with work and with having to do stuff, and so anyway, people don't really like it, but it is in fact very powerful. It's obviously not as new and as sexy as social media, but I think most marketers who use it find that it's a better tool for now. That may change, but for now it is.
A very short and precise question. Which users are more, let's say, susceptible to media campaigns, iOS users or Android?
A very short and succinct answer, I don't know.
Okay. Just a couple of questions on the EU elections, because they're coming up. We have a case where voter turnout has been dropping every time we have an election. Any tip?
Well, look, I mean, this is obviously a very different context than the one in which I've operated for most of my life. A relatively new system, a system that operates, of course, outside the context of nations, and so it's complicated. The best thing I can say based on my experience is, look, people don't spend their lives thinking about politics. Even within a country that doesn't have an international body, they don't spend their life thinking about politics. We did a study in 2011 and found that the average undecided voter thinks about politics for 8 minutes a week. 8 minutes a week. And so, think about that. What they're worried about is their own lives, and they're worried about their family and their jobs and their health and stuff like that. And so, figuring out a way to make politics as relevant as forget about what it is that you as a party or as a politician are trying to say, and try to understand what people are actually trying to hear and what they need in their lives is probably a pretty good place to start. And also remember, so 2 points, not one, that we're in an age in which people don't trust politicians and they don't trust institutions, but they trust what they hear from their friends, they trust what they hear socially. I think any politician who gets that and who tries to leverage their core base of supporters to go out and talk to other people is probably going to be in a better position than just trying to talk to people themselves directly through broadcast media.
Okay. What was your most memorable moment from the last presidential campaign?
I would have to say there were a couple. I think I think the day when the healthcare law went before the Supreme Court. So the healthcare law went before the Supreme Court and was upheld, and there was a terrifying 15 seconds or so when CNN reported that it had been overturned and it wasn't clear what was going on. I'm talking 15 seconds. I mean, a very quick event, and but thanks to the way, thanks to Twitter, it became clear that it had been upheld. People were crying, people were hugging. I mean, that law is very important to all of us. That's one. That was a very positive one. Certainly, the first debate on the negative side is one that's tough to forget. But the true answer is I've blacked out almost the entire 2-year period of my life, so I don't know.
Just a last question before you run off. You handle your own social media, obviously. You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on everything that's out there. Should politicians handle their own social media?
Probably not. I mean, look, I think it depends on the politician. I mean, I think with President Obama, he didn't. I think it was very important that we didn't act like he did. So the last thing we would ever do is claim that he's tweeting, but if he's not tweeting, you've got to try to tell the truth. I'm currently working with a politician who has more time on his hands than the president did, but also, is just more interested in this kind of stuff, and so he does, and so that, and that's what works for him. So, I think everybody's got to come to a decision that works for them, and just make sure that they're honest about that and true to the decision they've made.
Teddy Goff with us at New Europe Studios. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
My pleasure.